Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday edition this week. A meeting just wrapped up with the big topic we've been talking about, private school aid, vouchers, tax credits, what have you. So I'm going to let Leah start by talking about what just happened in the House K-12 Education Budget Committee.
Yes, thanks, Mark. The committee, after quite a bit of discussion and several amendment attempts by the Democrats on the committee, did pass out House Bill 2068 favorably to the full House as it was introduced. No amendments were accepted. Those amendments all centered around various accountability measures. There was an amendment to keep the fund capped at $10 million unless and until the state fully funds its promise of 92% of excess funds for special ed. Just some kind of policy points that the Democrats attempted to make. There was also an attempt to require the qualified schools that are participating in the program or wish to participate to post on their website a non-discrimination statement that says that they won't expel or discriminate against kids based on any of the kind of the usual categories of discrimination that we've all become aware of, and specifically mentioned sexual orientation and gender identity, and that also went down. So quite a bit of discussion. It was getting a little bit tense in there a couple times, but the bill has been passed out to the full House.
So procedurally, now we have two bills that deal with the same issue. This one that the House K-12 committee just passed, as Leah said, will go to the full House. Earlier this week, the Senate Ed Committee passed Senate Bill 61. It does the same thing, so it goes to a full chamber. And as Leah mentioned, no amendments, only Democrats brought amendments. And the votes on the bill, on all the amendments and on the bill, were along party lines. Democrats opposed this and Republicans supported it.
And that was largely true in the Senate committee, with one exception. Senator Brenda Dietrich, former school superintendent from Topeka, was a Republican, voting no in the Senate Education Committee. Otherwise, it was on party lines as well. We don't know when these bills, once, it's up to the leadership of the chambers to decide when to schedule floor debate. So it could be literally weeks and it could be never, but given the strong partisan support for these and given the desire of the legislature to be moving quickly on at least some issues, we'd expect this anytime, so you need to be ready. We'll just note that Monday, the K-12 Budget Committee at 3:30, if you want to set your time to listen in, is having a hearing on a much more expansive school choice or private school aid Bill 2119, which, instead of using kind of indirect funding through tax credits, would directly fund what are called education savings accounts to students. We've been providing information and will continue to do so about this. If you want to testify, they've reached the cap of people who can testify orally, but anyone can continue to submit written testimony, but that will be due by tomorrow afternoon at 3:30. If you need help with those details, you can contact someone on our staff. We'll let you do that. Before we switch topics, anything else you guys want to mention there?
We will be putting out a joint statement along with some other education groups in opposition to these, to House Bill 2068 and Senate Bill 61. And we just encourage everyone to contact their legislator and encourage them to vote against these bills.
Okay, a couple other things we'll mention, then wrap up for the day. The House Appropriations Committee today had a hearing on House Bill 2195, which really is talking about what's turning out to be potentially a pretty big issue, and that is the issue of unemployment fraud, in particular, the impact that could have on employers like school districts and everyone else. Because what is happening is, under our unemployment system, as I understand it, and I'm just learning, employers have to pay into a fund that's kind of based on their experience. And so if you have a lot of unemployment claims that you've paid out, you have to pay more in. And so we're starting to hear from school districts and others that are being potentially charged thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of potential dollars because of fraudulent claims that were paid. People are talking about statewide hundreds of millions of dollars might be, excuse me, at risk, to say nothing of the aggravation to the individual employee that people are finding out. I have not yet received a 1099. I hope I don't, because I still don't know what to do, but apparently many people are. So the bill today that was introduced by Representative Sean Tarwater, who is on that committee, on the K-12 Budget Committee and chair of the Commerce Committee, had asked this bill be introduced. It would hold employers harmless. You wouldn't have to pay any money in. However, it would be made up by the state general fund, which of course would be a pretty big hit on the state general fund. A lot of unknown questions. Is there potentially federal aid available? Will the federal government backstop this? Will it provide, some of the Democrats were saying, kind of trying to defend the administration. Well, we can borrow money, but it still has to be paid back at some time. So this is going to get nasty. And there's a lot of criticism of the Department of Labor about what's going on. Some people acknowledging, yeah, they've had a lot of problems and this is an overwhelming pandemic and our equipment is awful. But there's also testimony being made that this is unusually bad here in Kansas. So you're going to be hearing about this, but certainly efforts to protect school districts from another round of loss are appreciated. So be aware of that. I also testified in Senate Education today on Senate Bill 62, which makes some basically brings up to code, if you will, the current law on vision screening. Districts provide vision screening to students. So we're in favor of that. It appears to be just a modest step forward with no real additional cost. The committee then took up Senate Bill 43, which would establish a new scholarship program for students for basically technical ed up through 2-year degrees. Kind of and target it at high demand areas, but this would be another way to help some kids in these areas pay. One, I think, positive amendment from Chair Molly Baumgardner was to make early childhood education and child development eligible for this. So given the shortage in this area, that would be a step forward as well. They did not finish the bill. They'll come back to that. So quickly looking ahead, I'll ask guys to jump in if I'm forgetting anything. We'll talk more about this tomorrow at our regular noon update and then post it over the weekend. I'm preparing testimony for hearing on the Department of Education budget Monday afternoon. Testimony on that is also due tomorrow. So if you're interested in items in the Department of Ed budget, if you're interested in supporting the Gannon funding, if you're interested in more funding for special ed, anything that goes through the Department of Ed, school finance, major school programs, that's in the budget. And this is your one chance in the Senate to say something about that in person or in writing. Contact us if you need help on that. That and the other bill Monday are the two big ones we're looking. Am I forgetting anything else on the horizon we want to mention today? Okay, we're all pretty tired. It's been a long week with some late evenings that may continue into next week as well. So we'll hope to see you tomorrow to tune in at some point. If not, have a great weekend and we'll see you next week. Thank you.